The tiger's face was inches from Lisa's. His amber eyes stared unblinking, his whiskers quivered, and his enormous jaws parted just enough to expose gleaming white fangs. Lisa stood paralyzed, her mouth half open, a scream lodged in her throat. She could hardly breathe. Titan let out a low, rumbling growl, not hostile, but resonant enough to make her heart pound against her chest. For a fleeting moment, Lisa imagined herself as the lead in a grim news story. Local woman mauled in tiger attack. But then Titan did something entirely unexpected. With the nonchalant elegance of a tabby cat, he tilted his head, flopped onto his side, and lazily swatted at Lisa's ankle with his massive paws, as if she were a plaything. Lisa finally shrieked, a loud, piercing wail, and stumbled backward, crashing into my garden gnome. The ceramic figure toppled with her, shattering on impact. She flailed on the ground like an overturned turtle, her screams growing louder. "Calm down, Lisa," I yelled, rushing down the porch steps. Titan blinked up at me, clearly entertained, while Lisa scooted across my lawn as if escaping a grizzly. "He's not going to hurt you," I said, trying to sound calm, but Lisa was past reasoning. She scrambled to her feet and bolted down the driveway in a frantic sprint, arms flailing like she'd just fled a slasher film. By the time she reached her porch, she was already on the phone. I could hear her from across the street. "Yes, animal control. There's a tiger in my neighbor's yard. A real tiger. Yes, I'm serious. No, I haven't been drinking." I sighed, turning to Titan, who had rolled onto his back like a giant striped pup, lazily batting at the air with his paws. "Buddy," I muttered, "your timing sucks. My name's Jake, and I'm the local zookeeper. Handling animals is my life. A job where you end up scrubbing more dung than you'd ever imagine, but somehow love every minute of it." I'd been tasked with keeping Titan, one of our prized Bengal tigers, at my house temporarily while his zoo enclosure underwent urgent repairs. Titan was a gentle giant, fond of sunbathing and napping, and keeping him in my reinforced backyard wasn't ideal, but it was the safest option. Unfortunately, Lisa Bennett didn't agree. Lisa was the neighborhood's self-appointed guardian, or, more accurately, its reigning complainer. Her lawn was manicured to putting green perfection. She glared at anyone who parked too near her driveway, and she had every city office on speed dial. If a leaf dared land in her yard, she'd probably sue the tree. The second she spotted Titan through my fence, I knew she'd turn it into a circus. Animal control arrived within 20 minutes. Officer Daniels stepped out of his van with the weary look of a man who'd spent decades chasing feral cats and dodging yappy terriers. When he saw Titan sprawled in the sun like a monarch on holiday, his hand instinctively reached for his tranquilizer gun. "Whoa, whoa," I shouted, stepping between them. "He's with me. I'm the zookeeper. I've got all the paperwork." Daniel squinted at me. "That's your tiger?" "Well, technically the zoo's tiger," I said, "but he's staying here." "A tiger in a suburban neighborhood," Daniels replied dryly. "Trust me," I said, handing him a stack of documents like a truce flag. "He's safe. He's been trained for years, and this is temporary until his enclosure's fixed. He's a big, lazy softy." Across the street, Lisa was wringing her hands theatrically, rallying her cluster of nosy neighbors. "He's going to kill someone," she cried. "That thing's a monster." "He's not a monster," I called back, struggling to keep my cool. "He's safer than half the dogs around here." "That thing," Lisa shrieked, "was pawing at me like I was a ribeye." "He thought your shoe was a toy," I countered. "I want him gone," she snapped, her face flushed with rage. Officer Daniels sighed, rubbing his temples. "Look," he muttered, "I need to do an inspection." I had no choice but to let him check Titan's setup. Lisa stood triumphantly on the sidewalk like she'd just called in the National Guard. Daniels paced the perimeter, tapping the reinforced steel fence and testing the double lock system I'd installed. Titan trailed him lazily inside the enclosure, more curious than threatening. At one point, Titan sneezed, a loud, explosive sound that nearly made Daniels jump out of his boots. I couldn't help but chuckle. "This is solid," Daniels admitted. "I've seen worse setups. I'm a professional," I reminded him. "I wouldn't keep him here if I wasn't sure it was safe for everyone." Lisa stormed up to the fence. "You can't possibly let him stay," she barked. "What if a kid climbs that fence?" I raised an eyebrow. If a kid scales a 10-foot steel fence with warning signs everywhere, the tiger's the least of your problems. You think this is funny? Lisa shot back. When that beast attacks someone, it's on you. I've had Titan longer than you've had that gnome, I snapped. Which you broke because you trespassed in my yard. That's not the point, Lisa screeched. Okay, Daniels interjected, raising his hands. I'm not deciding now. I'll file a report with the city. Until then, Titan stays, but, he added sternly, if there's any trouble, I'm shutting this down. I nodded, relieved. Lisa, however, glared at me like I'd stolen her throne, muttering, "You'll regret this," as she stomped back to her house. I glanced at Titan, who'd flopped beside me. I think we've got a new pal, I said wryly. Titan huffed contentedly and shut his eyes. Later that evening, as I cleaned up dinner, I caught sight of Lisa pacing on her porch, phone to her ear. I couldn't hear her, but I knew she wasn't done. I looked back at Titan, snoring peacefully on his blanket. Hope you're ready, big guy, I muttered. Something tells me this is just the start. The next morning was deceptively calm, my first hint that disaster loomed. I was sipping coffee on the porch, watching Titan stretch lazily in his enclosure, when I noticed Lisa across the street. She stood on her porch, arms folded, a smug grin twisting her face. That look made my gut twist. She was plotting something, and it wouldn't end well for me. Less than an hour later, Officer Daniels rolled up in his van, flanked by 2 more animal control officers. They stepped out like they were gearing up for a sting operation, armed with clipboards, cameras, and gear that made my hands clammy. Lisa marched over triumphantly, as if leading a battalion. We're here for a full inspection, Daniels announced flatly. You just did one yesterday, I protested. New complaints, he said, flipping open his notebook. Allegedly, your tiger was prowling the neighborhood last night. Lisa says she saw him digging in her garden. That's insane, I shot back. He hasn't left his enclosure. I have photo evidence, Lisa chimed in, waving her phone dramatically. She shoved the screen forward, displaying a blurry image of something striped behind a bush. It could have been Titan, or a fat raccoon in a striped shirt. That's ridiculous, I muttered. Titans never escaped. We'll see, Daniels replied, clearly fed up. He and his team inspected Titan's enclosure while Lisa hovered, whispering to one of the officers like a conspirator. As if on cue, Titan padded over to the fence and let out a deep, throaty chuff, his usual hello. Unfortunately, Daniels flinched, an officer dropped his clipboard, and Lisa unleashed a scream so shrill it startled Titan himself. He's aggressive, she yelled. Did you see that? He sneezed, I barked. He's a tiger, not a demon. Daniels ignored us both, checking the locks. Everything was secure, and Titan's feeding log was flawless. Just as it seemed to wind down, Lisa pointed dramatically at a torn patch of grass near the fence. Look, she cried. That's where he dug out. That's where my dog dug last week. I snapped, exasperated. But Lisa pressed on. I bet if you searched Jake's house, you'd find something shady. He's probably hiding more wild animals. That's insane, I muttered, but Daniel's expression shifted. Lisa's relentless whining was wearing him down. Sorry, Jake, he said. We need to check the property. I groaned but let them in. As the officers poked around my house, Lisa stood smugly in my living room, touching things she had no right to. You don't know how dangerous tigers are, she said, eyeing my bookshelf like I might be stashing a panther in it. I saw a documentary. They can snap a neck with one swipe. Titan's more into belly rubs than neck snapping, I muttered. He's safer than you are. That struck a nerve. Lisa's face turned crimson. Before she could retort, my parrot, Admiral Tweet, decided to escalate things. Lisa's nuts. Lisa's nuts, he squawked from his perch in the corner. I bit back a laugh. Lisa, however, looked ready to throttle him. Does that bird even know what it's saying? She growled. Oh yeah, I said. He's got you pegged. Lisa's fury boiled over, and she stormed outside, likely to complain to Daniels directly. I sat back, muttering a thanks to Admiral Tweet. That night, I did a final check on Titan before bed. He was sprawled out, belly up, paws twitching like he was dreaming of chasing butterflies. I smiled, finding some peace after the hectic day. But that peace shattered at 2 a.m., when a loud crash jolted me awake. Heart racing, I rushed to the window and stared in disbelief. Lisa was in my yard again, this time with a camera. She'd climbed halfway over the fence, dangling awkwardly as she snapped photos of Titan with the flash on full blast. "What the hell are you doing?" I shouted. Lisa gasped, startled, and lost her grip, tumbling into my yard with a thud. Unfortunately, Titan woke up too, and curiosity got the better of him. For a tiger his size, he could move fast when he wanted. Before I could reach the yard, Titan stood over Lisa, peering down at her like a puzzled nanny. Lisa froze, eyes wide, as he sniffed her shoe. He pawed at her ankle playfully, nudging her leg like a toy. Then came the scream, a glass-shattering wail that spooked Titan so badly he bolted back to his blanket. Lisa scrambled up and clawed her way over the fence like a game show contestant. By the time I reached her, she was on her porch, breathless and livid. "I knew it," she shrieked. "That tiger's a menace. He tried to kill me. He tried to sniff your socks," I shot back. "You're lucky he didn't think you were a chew toy. You'll regret this," she hissed. "I'll get that tiger out of here if it's the last thing I do." The next morning, Daniels was back at my door, looking more drained than ever. Beside him stood a stern woman in a blazer, someone from the city council. They weren't messing around anymore. "We've had multiple complaints," Daniels said. "If anything else happens, they'll remove Titan immediately." Lisa watched from her porch, smirking like she'd already won. I knew this wasn't over. She wouldn't stop until Titan was gone. That evening, I sat in the yard with Titan, scratching behind his ears. He purred softly, curling into me like an oversized house cat. As I listened to his steady breathing, determination surged within me. "You're not going anywhere," I murmured. "Not if I can help it." I glanced across the street. Lisa was on her porch, phone in hand, no doubt scheming. "Get ready, Titan," I whispered. "This war's just heating up." The morning after Lisa's midnight escapade, I barely had time to sip my coffee before my phone rang. It was Mia, an old friend and ex-circus performer. Mia was my go-to when things got bizarre, and as a zookeeper, bizarre was my norm. I filled her in on Lisa's antics, the city council threat, and Titan's growing infamy as a neighborhood terror. "That woman's a terror herself," Mia chuckled. "Want me to drop by? I've got ideas." Mia's ideas often teetered between brilliance and chaos, but I was desperate. 2 hours later, she arrived in a cheetah print coat, oversized sunglasses, and a duffel bag stuffed with what I could only call circus survival gear: ropes, smoke bombs, whistles, and a life-sized fake tiger head. "We're going to outsmart her," Mia declared, spilling her supplies onto my porch. "Lisa wants Titan to look dangerous? We'll make him a hero instead." Her plan was wild but genius. Stage a heroic tiger stunt to cast Titan as the neighborhood's furry savior. If people saw him as a protector, Lisa's crusade would collapse. The challenge was timing it right. That chance came sooner than expected. The next day, I spotted Lisa chatting with 2 men outside her house, wearing jackets labeled Wild Claws Rescue, a local group notorious for aggressive relocations. I knew she'd called them to force Titan out. If they labeled him a risk, the city would act fast. "We're out of time," I muttered to Mia. "We move tonight," she said confidently. "Trust me." That evening, as dusk fell, Mia set her plan in motion. Step 1 involved Admiral Tweet, a mimicry maestro. After a quick refresher, he was ready. I set his cage on the porch with a clear view of the street. Lisa, predictably, was outside gossiping with a friend. When she got close, Admiral Tweet squawked loudly, then bellowed in a perfect Lisa voice, "Help! Help! I'm in danger!" Lisa whirled around, stunned. The parrot struck again. "Oh no! I've fallen and can't get up." He flapped wildly, shrieking for effect. Lisa's face twisted in confusion, her friend giggling. Furious, Lisa stormed over to investigate. That was Mia's signal. She slipped through the side gate, dragging her props. Under cover of darkness, she smeared tuna on Lisa's fence and positioned the fake tiger head on the far side. The plan was simple: wait for Lisa to spot the tiger, then let Titan save the day. But things went off script. Lisa, already rattled by Admiral Tweet's taunts, heard rustling near her fence and assumed the worst. Before we could react, she grabbed a broom from inside and marched over, jabbing it through the slats at what she thought was Titan. The flimsy fake head flopped into her yard. Lisa shrieked loud enough to wake the neighborhood. "He's in my yard. The tiger's loose." I barely had time to grab Titan's leash before chaos erupted. The Wild Claws guys charged over, one wielding a tranquilizer gun like a cannon. Lisa, flailing her broom, knocked over her trash can and slipped on the mess. The tuna scent drew nosy neighbors and a stray dog from blocks away, which barreled into the fray like a furry torpedo. Amid it all, Titan strolled out calmly, following me, his huge paws patting across the driveway as he sniffed the air. The dog lunged at Titan's tail, mistaking it for a toy. Titan spun, startled, and let out a loud chuff, a warning, not an attack. To everyone else, it sounded like a cinematic roar. The rescue team panicked. One guy stumbled back, knocking himself out on Lisa's mailbox. The other tripped, firing the tranquilizer gun into Lisa's prize rosebush. Lisa, sprawled on the ground, wailed theatrically, "He's attacking. The tiger's attacking. Titan, sit." I commanded. To my relief, he obeyed, plopping his massive frame down and licking his paw like the chaos was irrelevant. When Daniels arrived, the scene was absurd. Lisa tangled in her garden hose, one man unconscious by the mailbox, the other groaning in the gutter, and Titan grooming himself on my porch. "What happened here?" Daniels asked, defeated. Lisa jabbed a finger at Titan. "That monster attacked me. Looks like he's enjoying a spa day," Daniels muttered. "Ask anyone." Lisa shrieked. "He's dangerous. He tried to kill me." "Actually," a neighbor piped up, "I saw him scare off that dog. Looked like he was protecting you." Others nodded. Lisa's face contorted in disbelief. Somehow, despite her efforts, Titan emerged as a hero. The clincher came when Daniels approached me quietly. "Look," he murmured, "I don't know what's up with you two, but I've seen enough. Titan stays, as long as there's no more trouble." Lisa's jaw dropped. I barely hid a grin. Later, as Titan sprawled on his blanket, I sat beside him, scratching his chin. Mia joined me, still laughing. "Lisa's probably drafting a 10-page complaint," she said. "Let her," I replied. "If Titan keeps saving the day, she'll run out of ink." Titan sighed contentedly, stretching his paws. I knew one thing. He wasn't going anywhere without a fight. And if Lisa wanted war, I was ready to win. The morning after the fiasco, I woke with mixed relief and dread. Titan had come out a hero, but Lisa wouldn't quit. Sure enough, as I watered my plants, I saw her pacing her porch, phone glued to her ear. I caught snippets, city council, lawsuit, menace, drifting over like a storm warning. That afternoon, an official notice was pinned to my door. Titan's presence would face a public review at week's end. Lisa had pulled every lever. If the city ruled against me, Titan could end up in some sketchy rescue center, far from the care he deserved. The thought chilled me. I had to act fast. Mia arrived soon after, sensing the stakes. "She's playing dirty," she said. "We need something big, undeniable." Over the next few days, I rallied the neighborhood, going door to door with Titan's story. Surprisingly, most were on my side. Tales of his calm nature and the stray dog incident spread fast. Kids dubbed him Elm Street's guardian tiger. But Lisa countered every move, popping up after my talks to spin wild rumors. By the meeting, the neighborhood was split. Half saw Titan as a gentle giant, half bought Lisa's tales of a toddler-eating beast. The meeting was tense from the start. Mayor Harrison, a stern man weary of petty disputes, presided. Lisa went first, delivering a melodramatic rant, claiming Titan escaped nightly, terrorized kids, and rummaged her trash like a raccoon. "That tiger's a disaster waiting to happen," she boomed. I steadied myself and spoke, detailing my Zookeeper credentials, Titan's enclosure security, double locks, steel fencing, monitoring, and how his aggression was pure misunderstanding. But Lisa wasn't done. She slammed a folder on the table. "I have proof," she declared, revealing blurry photos, Titan prowling, a shadow, Titan snarling, yawning. "He's a ticking time bomb," she shrieked. The crowd shifted uneasily. I felt control slipping. Then Mayor Harrison stood. "This tiger," he said slowly. "Is it the one on my patio last week?" The room hushed. "Yes, sir," I admitted, nervous. He wandered over while I cleaned his enclosure. I got him back right away. Harrison chuckled. He lounged on my patio for 20 minutes. Didn't make a peep, just sprawled like he owned it. Lisa's face reddened. "I've heard plenty about this tiger," Harrison continued. But he only seems dangerous when people freak out. He had Lisa pointedly. Frankly, Mrs. Bennett, you've blown this out of proportion. Lisa leapt up, spluttering. He's an apex predator. He belongs in a jungle. He belongs with Jake, Harrison said calmly. And since Jake's handling him better than you're handling your temper, this case is closed. The room erupted in applause. I couldn't suppress my smile. Titan was safe. Lisa stormed out, fuming. I knew she'd stir more trouble, but this fight was mine. The next morning, her porch was oddly quiet. No calls, no glares. It should have felt good, but her silence unnerved me. By noon, she knocked on my door, looking awkward, like she'd bitten into a sour fruit. I might have overreacted, she said, voice tight. But keep that tiger in line. He won't get out, I assured her. She scowled, then marched off. It wasn't an apology, but it was Lisa's best. That evening, I sat on the porch with Titan. He rested his head in my lap, purring as I scratched his fur. Across the street, Lisa watched briefly, then went inside without a word. Admiral Tweet squawked, Lisa's nuts. I laughed. You're not wrong, I muttered. Titan chuffed lazily, drifting off. After all the chaos, accusations, schemes, normalcy returned. As I rubbed his ears, I knew Elm Street's guardian tiger had earned his spot for good.